Hi everyone, my name's Tim. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to give you an update on what I read in February and March. There's a lot of books here, but a lot of them are kids' books I read to the kids. From my perspective as an adult, I didn't read a ton in February. Kind of went into a bit of a slump. March has been very busy with work and life. So I'm kind of just going to combine the two of them into one video here on what I read in February and March. So there's lots of books here, so let's just get into it. First up, I read The Bad Guys. This is episodes 1 and 2. This is by Aaron Blabey. DreamWorks made a film of this. I read this with my son. Absolutely brilliant because it's just a big comic and we read it together. So he was the big bad wolf, which is one of his favorite characters, and I was everyone else. You've got Mr. Shark, Mr. Snake, Mr. Piranha, Tarantula comes into it. One thing that I love in this, which they do have in the film as well as at the shark is a master of disguise. So that's him disguised as a chicken. So it's so obviously still a shark. But this is really funny, zany humor, which my son really liked. And very easy to read, really strong emphasis, really good drawings. So there we go. I gave that 5 stars. Next is another book. This one my son read to me. This is Dog Man by Dav Pilkey. This is about he's got the head of a dog and the body of a policeman. That makes him the best policeman in the country. And this is a group of, this is like individual stories about Dogman fighting against the evil Petey, who is a cat. And this has got loads of meta-narrative in it about it's being written by 2 kids. So you see at the start, you see like a letter from the school. Let's see if I can find it. A letter from the school saying like to tell them to stop doing this comic, which I think I really enjoyed. My son didn't kind of get the meta humor so much. But what's great though is that it is just a full color comic, and so it's a lot easier for him to read. He loved the zany jokes. You know, there's like, let's see if I could do this. Probably not very well. There's like flip book sections where you could just flip back and forth like that. But yeah, he thought it was really funny. You could tell it's designed to have been drawn by children. One thing that's really funny, let me just get that out. One thing that's really funny is they have like how to draw. They have how to draw the different characters in stages. So Dogman and Petey, the evil cat. And then also they have, where can I find it? Here you go. That's how to draw Invisible Pete. Here in so many easy steps. Just really funny. Yeah, easy. Another good children's book. 5 stars from us. Next, I read my mystery book, which was The Queen's Nose by Dick King-Smith. This is about a girl who finds a magical 50p coin that gives her wishes. And to start with, she wishes for very selfish things, like a rabbit and a new bicycle. And in the end, she starts wishing for things for other people and to bring goodness into the world. I liked this. I really liked Harmony as the main character. Really strong identity from her in the text. Especially as she loves animals and she names every adult that she sees. She describes them as an animal. I think the art's quite nice as well. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I like the fact they didn't really explain the magic. And it's the first Dick King-Smith I've ever read. Actually, I never read any Dick King-Smith growing up. So yeah, 4 stars from me. Next, we're back on another book with my son that I read. This is Black Panther Battle for Wakanda. This is by Brian T. Snyder. And this is part of a set that we got. And it's it is a proper fiction story, but it does have pictures in it, and it's about Wakanda being under attack, and then Black Panther having to decide whether to be the king of Wakanda or to fight with the Avengers. That's kind of the main crux of the conflict here. One thing that I really liked here is I think the art's great, but also anytime a character spoke, they had different color text, so you could immediately tell who it was. I really like that. That was a really useful tool. Because it meant that you didn't have to have the said every time, which is not very fun to read to your children. Yeah, my son loved the art. I actually thought it was quite grown up in a way. There's a lot of arguing, and like Nick Fury in S.H.I.E.L.D. is not telling Black Panther things, and he's getting annoyed at him, and there's quite a lot of tension in this book. Yeah, so I gave this 4 stars. Next is another grown-up book that I read, which was The First Chronicles of Amber by Roger Zelazny. I've got a whole review on them. I read them on my phone until the very last book, because it's actually 5 books. The last one I listened to audiobook, mainly. I found the world interesting. I found it bonkers. There's a scene where a man is... 2 men are fighting. One of them is on top of a horse with a sword and shield, and the other one is driving a Mercedes. Just insane. I enjoyed the magic, the weirdness of it, but I found the text itself very dry. I'm not quite sure if that's the right word, but it was all from one character's perspective, and it felt... I didn't really enjoy it. I gave it 2 stars. It took me basically the whole month. It took me over the whole month to read. And it was like 700-800 pages, something like that, which is a long book, but I should have read it much quicker, because the pace was frenetic. There was points when it was all about the politicking between this royal family of Amber, which, because you only have one person's perspective, basically meant that he would go to one group of people and tell them everything, and then they would tell him stuff, and then he would just go to another group of people and then tell them everything that the last group of people said, and rinse and repeat, and he did that 3 or 4 chapters in a row. Which made it very boring to read. The action was described haphazardly at best. The magic was strange and unknowable, but I quite liked that. There were, like, every woman he meets is either a sister, or tries to have sex with him, or tries to kill him, or both. Bizarre. And there was a while where, like, every chapter just ended with him going to sleep. Because I don't know why, but it was just... chapter after chapter, he was like, "Oh, I was here, and then I went to sleep, and the next chapter, I woke up," and it's like, we don't need that. Yes, that got me into the slump, I think. And I think the format of reading it on my phone just did not work, and I won't be doing that again. While reading that, read Power Up Psyduck to the kids before bed. This is a collection of basically bits in the episodes that have Psyduck involved. We jump throughout time. This is all mainly set during the first couple of series, but it's like, oh, suddenly Tracy's there, then Brock's there. There's no like passage of time. We jump back and forth the time. It's just a collection of stories about Psyduck. My kids really like Psyduck. It's okay. They weren't super engaged with this. I gave this 2 stars, and since then we've read a load of other stuff. And they've not really been desperate to go back to Pokemon. I think we're kind of getting diminishing returns with these books, but we'll see. The next thing I read was part of my Jack London challenge, was Daughter of the Snows. This is about a woman who goes up to the Yukon, and it's about her making ground. She's like the equivalent of an heiress. She has a very famous, very rich father, and is kind of clearing the path for her, but also she's making her own way. There's a bit of a love triangle who she's going to pick. I was actually quite invested in the romance side. Then it becomes a murder mystery at the end, which is crazy. There's all kind of weird things going on. I really, really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fact I had no idea what was going to happen next, because it kind of kept changing story. Which I like that. thing that did bring it down was all of the characters are incredibly racist. I think even for the time, incredibly racist. And then how she decides who to be with on the romance side isn't that someone did something bad. It was that they acted in an unmanly way. Very bizarre. But still enjoyed it. 4 stars. Next was the next in these Marvel series that I read to my son. This is Doctor Strange, Mystery of the Dark Magic. This was... I gave this, I think, 3 stars. It's definitely not as good as the Black Panther one. The art isn't as good. There was one really good bit of art. Here we go. It's a big double page, and they've put all the characters in the middle of it, so you can't... Like, what's all this space? That's rubbish. This, you can't even see them properly. That, and it got rid of a really bit that I liked, which was colouring the text to whoever the person was speaking. We didn't have that, and I missed that. But yeah, it's about Doctor Strange. He's trying to find who is doing this dark magic. You have the Scarlet Witch, you have Brother Voodoo, you have the Ancient One, you have Iron Fist, you've got White Tiger, quite an interesting bunch. And Doctor Strange learns about teamwork, because generally he's not very nice at the start of this. He's very independent, and I don't need anybody's help, but then he learns the value of friendship. Yeah, it was okay. 3 stars. Next, I read Robin Hood and His Merry Men. I've got no idea who wrote this. This was published, I think, in the 50s, but I don't really know. One thing I do know is it smells amazing. This is very old. This is a collection. It's just a bunch of stories, really. It's about disguises. It's about robbing the rich and giving to the poor. It's got Sir Guy of Gisborne. You've got the Sheriff of Nottingham. You've got Little John. You've got Will Scarlet. You've got Alan Adale. Robin Hood in disguise goes and sneaks in. He wins the archery competition. It's all of these stories, and I just loved it. It was just written in a fun way, very light, very easy to read, and super enjoyable. And I love the Robin Hood mythos. I love the fact that you can have so many different threads to pick at if you want to do a full story of this, and this basically covers all of them. Yeah, and he's a fox. Fact. Next, I read Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry. This I picked because after Wheel of Time and the Chronicles of Amber, I still wanted to read fantasy, but I was like getting a bit bogged down in this. And this is very light. This is 200 and something pages. Yeah, 270 pages. Relatively big text. It's about an adventurer, Viv, who finishes adventuring and sets up a coffee shop. And no one knows what coffee is. She needs to get the equipment in. She needs to get staff in. She needs to deal with the local mafia, who kind of control businesses. She needs to find cakes and biscuit recipes. She needs to expand. And it says, high fantasy, low stakes, good company. That's true. It's very warm and friendly. There is a bit of conflict, but it's not a ton. Like, not everything goes wrong for the characters. A lot goes right, which is nice. It's nice to read that. The characters are friendly and local, but you do get a bit of the magic of the world, which I like. I think that really improves it. And perfect palate cleanser after being a bit of a slog, and that helped me kind of get a bit more into it. That's 5 stars. Next, we've got another book I read to my son, Agent Moose. This is by Mo O'Hara with art by Jess Bradley. This is about someone called Anonymous who helps find missing animals. Special Agent Moose. This has got a bookmark in it because I read it to my son and then immediately he started reading it, which I think is a good sign. This is very similar to Dogman in terms of humor and almost art style. It is a comic. But one thing that's interesting is with this is that kind of made it not as good as Dogman was... This is going to sound really weird. But first of all, the main character is called Anonymous. Like Anonymous. It's a good joke. Very hard to read. And then you've got Not So Special Agent Alfred, which is very wordy and not super phonetical for kids to read. And the next thing is the font. So I'm going to get really close here. So it said it should have, what does that say? Should have counted. But the H's and the N's look very similar, and my son kept tripping up on those. And I know that sounds really silly, but if you're focusing on books for kids, like, font choice is really important. Anyway, we're almost there, which is what I read. This is A Twisted Tale about Tiana and the Princess and the Frog. I really enjoyed this, by Farah Rochon. New Orleans was a character in this, and you got the sense of music and food and swampy magic, voodoo. Brilliant. Really, really good. Really good twist. Really enjoyable. Then 2 more kids' books to finish it off. See, I've read a lot of kids' books over the past 2 months. Dogman Unleashed. This is a sequel. This was, interestingly, it was one big story compared to individual ones. And I think it suffered a little bit for that. But still, I gave it 4 stars. Still, the art is great. The humor's great. There's a flat PT this time, who they like make references to Flat Stanley, which my son loves, and he really liked that. It's just zany fun. And the last thing, because I think I'm running out of space on my phone to record this, is Ghostly Galleon, or The Jolly Rogers and the Ghostly Galleon by Johnny Duddle. So this, my son got as a audio story, and he's got the rest of them. And this is what he asked for his birthday, and we read this all together as a family. And this is brilliant. This is so good. One thing I really like, I think the art is incredible. I think it's suitably spooky. It's about pirate ghosts, and it is spooky. I think one thing, look at that art. That's just, I think there was a bit of a dichotomy between the spookiness and the silliness. Yeah, I really liked this. I really like this. I gave this 4 stars, and we're looking forward to reading more of them. So I've just kind of thrown them all in a pile here, but there were so many books